Dear friends, this is a new adventure. Today I just repair my tumble dryer. My tumble dryer, it's a HVAC, doesn't have an electrical heating element. It's using refrigerant and it's a heat pump inside. At one point I just realized that the clothing are not getting dry, and surprisingly the machine didn't show any fault. So first I thought that system lost the refrigerant, but that was just a thought. I don't like to make assumption. Just like you, I'm a full qualified electrician, HVAC, gas and control, jack of all trades. But because I'm 50 years old, I have time to go to all these colleges, not 3 days courses. Actually, I've been about 3 years. I love technology. I refuse a lot of jobs in management. In my country, Romania, I could be a manager. English is the second language. I struggle a little bit to improve it. But anyway, let's talk about this tumble dryer. So I decided to open the tumble dryer. I remove first the lid on the top, and then I remove the sideway, and then I turn somehow the tumble dryer to show how it looks. So I have all this, the compressor, the motors, and the cylinder which spins the clothing. Then I remove the bearing housing on the rear side of the tumble dryer. Then I loosen the belt, and then I remove the cylinder which dries the clothing. Then I took the rear side lid away, and then I pulled out the front panel. And now let's see how you can see. This is the top view into the bottom of the tumble dryer. As you'll see, you have motor fans, and what you see inside, it is what you have to clean, and then you'll put the lid back. So now let's get real. So I got one friend, and I teach him how to do electronic mechanics, and he always want to learn. It's an adventure for me. I never opened a tumble dryer. So what my friend does here, it's just opening the tumble dryer, loosening the screws. Actually, it's putting back now, but I use this image to explain how it works. So now we will put him back, because I didn't make the movie when I opened it, and that was a bad thing. So anyway, you will see, because my friend just put something back inside. But if you can think in reverse engineering, everything is the same. The way you pull things out, you put them back. You will see this is the back of the tumble dryer, and just my friend where he plays now, it just put a mesh where a fan it is. And as you'll see exactly onto the lid, you have like something in a little bit gets outside, is like a lid. That lid allows the air to circulate from the heater, from the heat pump into the tumble dryer, to bring the hot air where the clothing is spinning. And this little thing, it is the housing of the bearing. As I show you, have to pull this out and to take the bearing out when you are taking out the cylinder which rotates to dry your clothing. And then you have to pull out that lid, and many tumble dryer got this down. It's a mess. You have to figure out yourself, because they're not all the same. Now I pulled out the front lid, and this is what you will see inside when you open the tumble dryer. Then you have to open that black big lid, but you have to take pictures of the wiring, not to mess them up, and you have to put them back very carefully, because when the cylinder spin, you don't want to destroy the wire. This is the pump, condensate pump. You have to be clean as well. And this is the way this bottom of the tumble dryer look. This is the compressor, what you'll see here, and you have to have a little visual inspection on the compressor to see how the compressor it is. If there's no broken thing, then you have to take a closer picture to the wiring to remember how to put them back. So I took the front lid outside. Sorry, I took the front lid outside and I give it a good clean. If you would be an engineer, you wouldn't do this for people. You rush quickly to clean the filter, and the filter which is inside, it's pretty hard to access that filter if you're not opening the system. But I opened it because I wanted to clean the condenser and the evaporator to make sure that I have a great airflow, because the system in my case, it was a heavy case. I only have the filter, internal filter block. It happened once. I opened it once in 5 years. And first I thought I wanted to check in a bin the tumble dryer, but then I say, oh look, I'm quite a curious guy. Let's see at least how is it working. I just realized I didn't have problem with the refrigerant inside. So I didn't have any refrigerant leak. The heat pump was working perfectly, but the filter and the evaporator was subject to dust contamination. And this is a normal thing. After 5 years, 6 years, you would expect to have some kind of contamination. So anyway, I pulled the front lid out. I gave it a good clean. And I checked all these little electrical connections, plastics if they broken, and I realized that the lid it's in a great condition, and there was nothing wrong with it. So I just give it a good clean. Now you see I gave it actually a very deep clean. I just tried to pull out dust from everywhere, and then I use a vacuum cleaner. I gave him a great internal cleaning. I made it like new. So obviously if you call at your home, a technician will never do this. This is a very demanding job, and you rather buy something from China. It is easy to exploit some people in other countries and to buy for with peanuts money stuff rather than paying a good technician in UK to do your job. Now I have my colleague, my friend. I show him how things are working. What you'll see here, this is the top view. When you look to the bottom of this tumble dryer after you remove the cylinder, you have the black lid. You have to pull it out. Then you can inspect visually a little bit the motor. So you see you get one motor which spins the fan, this fan, and it spins also the cylinder. So it's got double shafts. So first you have to give a good cleaning to the tray, to the fan scroll. So it should look like this when you finish. Then obviously again you have to look to the capacitor, you have to look to the motors, you have to look to this little supports of the cylinder. Now I made a little bit of disaster in my home. Was not very pleasant. I really had to wash the carpet after, but I just I'm a curious guy. So when I removed that black lid I just told you, I got inside the HVAC system. You see I have an evaporator and a condenser. They're aluminum both. You see, like you have two heat exchangers, and I cleaned them. That was the first thing to do. So I pull out this cylinder and the back lid of the tumble dryer, and I start to clean this tumble dryer. So I'm telling you the truth, there was nothing to repair. It was only dust contamination. A filter was in an unbearable condition. As you'll see here now, this heat exchanger was full with dust. I have to take it out and to jet wash it. Well, very slowly, not very powerful jet, because you will bend the fins and then the air will not circulate. It doesn't matter if the heat pump works great. If you don't have air passing by through these heat exchangers, your tumble dryer will not work. And the worst scenario you can get, it's the system will get very high in pressure. So look, this is the filter. This filter was so blocked you couldn't see through. After 5 years I gave him a good clean, and I have to give a good clean to the fan scroll and to this drip tray, because there's some sludge down there. It's all natural. It's happened because of the time. So this is a tumble dryer, and I took it outside on the desk. I had a look into it. I pull out this lid, which is marked with yellow. I pull slowly all the screws, and I gain access into these heat exchangers. I give it a good clean inside, and finally I decide to have a last inspection to see if I miss anything, if I broke anything, because you know when you pull out the plastics you can break things. I checked the little access panel, I checked again the scroll and the compressor, the piping, the electrical wiring. That was a little visual inspection, but mostly my action was targeting the cleaning rather than repairing, because there was nothing to repair. I checked the little cylinder to see if there's any damage into it, and then I had to take this out and to clean the fan with a little hose. I use water and I cleaned it. There was a lot of dust, and the dust has been how can I say, it create like a carpet onto this drip tray, and I use a soft brush and I clean the scroll as well. As you'll see on the right hand side of the scroll is a capacitor. I checked that capacitor visually, not to be damaged. I don't want to open twice this tumble dryer. It's a little bit of hassle. It's not too much to repair, it's more to open that tumble dryer, which is not a pleasant operation. As I told you before, I really cleaned that filters. I did it 1 in 5 years. So after 5 years I start to feel the effect of dust contamination, and then I clean the plastics and the drip tray in my backyard using a water hose. So after I clean the filters, I put it back in front of this heat exchanger inside the heat pump, and I start mounting back the dryer. That was a crazy adventure, and I pull out couple of grams of dirt. Now you see the filter, it is clean, it is good, so I'm ready to prepare myself to put the system back. I did a last video, I checked, because this video is done after I washed the heat exchanger. I checked the compressor, I checked the motor, so I use a hair dryer and I dry because some water splashed all over the place. Then I put the lid back. So I put the capacitor, the wires. I had a look again not to destroy any pipe. The pipes are aluminium. You have to be really careful when you deal with this, because if you break it you can chuck your tumble dryer in a bin. This is a HVAC, it is a heat pump, and if you lose the refrigerant it's pretty nasty. So the wire, you have to pay a lot of attention when you put back the wire, because you have this cylinder that rotates above them. You don't want the wires to be caught on that, so they have some good fixing, so they fix on that black lid, and they will not be caught by this turning cylinder. As you'll see in this footage, you have good places, and it's quite well designed, so you can fit the plugs in their location, and there's no any danger of them to move on when the system vibrates or the cylinder is moving. I told you before, it's a good idea to take a picture first so you can see the cable holders. People are forgetting things, and it's good to take a picture, so it won't cost you too much. Then you'll put back the front fascia of the unit, and pay attention to these two screws. I almost damaged the front fascia. And then you see I put two screwdrivers because the hinges of this filter it's not very good. I use some super glue and I built some new hinges, and believe me or not, if you know what you do, it works. I managed to fix them and they worked, after you will see later on. But I restarted the tumble dryer and I made a test. I checked some clothing inside and the tumble dryer. This is a very hot area when you put your hand there, because the air comes from the heat exchanger, the bottom, and it's returned into this cylinder that spins to dry your clothing. And that was a great thing, because now I had a lot of air which passed by through the cylinder, and that air warmed up the clothing and it took the moisture to be condensed on the evaporator and to be eliminated via this pump. And the pump sends the water into this tanker, and then when the tanker fills up, you will when your tanker fills up, you will take it to the sink, but you still you have a you have another way. If you have this in a good location, you can pull this hose right outside and that tanker will never fill, because you take the hose right outside or in a sink somewhere, you don't have to drain the tanker. So yeah, I did this and it seems that the system worked. I will not use it today. I think what I have to do is to fix nicely that hinge and the lid which was broken. So now I put the dryer back. I made sure that all the moving parts are in place, the filters, primary filters, are clean. And see that lid was broken. I put some magnets because the front fascia is metal. I put some magnets now. I don't have this locker, but I use magnets and it will look pretty nice. I'll show you in the end. So that's the filter I told you have access from outside, but in 5 years I wanted to make sure that the heat exchangers are clean, not subject to contamination. You have a better access if you'll open the filters from inside rather than to put a vacuum cleaner or something and to damage. This is the primary filter, which is not allowing the secondary filter to contaminate. But if someone will not put that one, then the second filter will be subject to contamination and I have to open this dryer again. So you'll put this back. I fixed the hinges. Look, it sees very nice. And if you look now, I put 2 magnets. I use super glue and I put 2 magnets on the exterior. And if you'll see, they're the magnets, and it's enough only to approach this lid to the unit, and then the lid will stay. Thank you very much for watching this video. That was a crazy adventure, but now my tumble dryer works perfectly, just work like new. I only have to give it a little bit of clean. Thank you. Goodbye.